You're listening to Productivity Straight Talk with your host, Amber De La Garza. She is passionate, direct, and sometimes a little sarcastic, but always gives you what you need to succeed in business. Now, here's your host, Amber De La Garza, the Productivity Specialist.
Welcome and thank you for listening to Productivity Straight Talk. Today's episode 25, The Art of Multitasking, Friend or Foe? If you are an entrepreneur who wants to take consistent, massive, focused action in your business and life, then you're in the right place, and I'm so glad you've joined me. My goal today is for you to find out the truth about multitasking so that you can power through your tasks with the utmost efficiency. In today's episode, you will discover whether multitasking is your best friend or possibly your greatest foe, the two different types of multitasking, what you should do if multitasking demands your attention, the effects of alternating back and forth between tasks, and so much more. So let's dive right in and get straight to it. Do you embrace the art of multitasking? Have you found yourself bragging about being the best multitasker? Well, many years ago, companies would have found that task proudly listed on my resume, but not any longer, and I'm going to share with you why. As work environments are increasingly demanding, it only seems to make sense that if we want to be efficient and productive, we should all attempt to excel at multitasking, right? Well, the truth is, multitasking is one big lie. And you may not believe me, but let me share with you a recent story. Full disclosure, because I know better. But here we go. A while back, my husband called from Alaska where he had been working temporarily for a few months. And he told me that he was getting some time off soon, which would exactly align with my son Eric's spring break. So Joe asked me to get online and book some flights so that we as a family could go visit him in Alaska. So of course I did. I was like all over it. Within minutes, I had 6 tabs open comparing flights and I was on a mission. I know you know what I mean by this. Like you're trying to look for the best deal, the best times, the best airlines. And so you have multiple tabs open. Well, before deciding which flight I would book, my dad called and I answered it. Well, that was the first mistake. And he let me know that he wanted to come out for Eric's birthday and asked if I could find him a flight. Of course, I told him sure. And I hung up after the proper formalities by Dad. All right, I'll check it out. Let me get back to you. And I proceeded to pull up flight options on my screen. Second mistake. I called my dad back and said something like, "Hey, Dad, I found a great flight for $174 round trip. Should I book it?" And Dad, hurry. We got to figure this out. Like there's only a few more seats left and the deal may not ever come around again. I know you guys know what this is like. You're in this mad scramble. He gave me permission to go for it and I booked his flight. And after hanging up with him for the second time, I went back to booking Eric and my flight to Alaska. Well, later that day, I was processing my emails and I came across the email with my dad's flight confirmation. And luckily, I read it because I had my dad flying from Las Vegas to Georgia round trip. Well, that was the wrong way. He needed to be flying from Georgia to Las Vegas. And I know, I totally get it. It could have been much worse. I could have been flying my dad from Georgia to Alaska and me to Georgia and vice versa. I could have really, really screwed it up, but I still did screw it up. The question is what was the cost of my mistake? Hours. And I'm not even exaggerating. Hours of precious time calling who I booked the flight with, waiting on hold forever to find out that the representative I finally got to speak with couldn't even help me. Being transferred, waiting on hold again, and then finally being told that they couldn't help me and I had to contact the airlines directly. On and on it went. All because I slipped into the thinking that I could multitask. I mean, really, they were quite similar, right? Like I was already looking up flights for myself and my son. Now my dad needed flights. I was already online. But the truth is that I divided my focus and I was not able to look at the details because I was rapidly moving through, going back and forth between my flights, my son's flights, and my dad's flights. A similar scenario has probably happened to you in the past, and I encourage you not to let this happen again. Time is our most valuable asset. And attempting to multitask results in wasting it. We are not capable of doing 2 activities at once. and doing them both well. When you think you are multitasking, what you're really doing is actually just alternating back and forth between tasks rapidly, neither of which are receiving your full attention. Each time you alternate between tasks, you're losing time and focus, neither of which I think you have too much of, time or focus. Are you with me here? Why would you ever want to be wasting your time or focus? When you buy into the lie of multitasking, you're condemning yourself to feeling overwhelmed, stressed out, making mistakes, and having half-assed tasks and projects to deal with later, and often poor communication with others. Being efficient requires you to focus on one activity at a time so that all of your effort and brain power can be focused on accomplishing that activity. There are two kinds of temptations to multitasking that prevent you from working efficiently: internal and external. So internal multitasking is when you distract yourself, when you stop to check Facebook when you're in the middle of a project, or you switch to write one email and you're not done and you go to another email, or you have multiple tabs open that you switch back and forth between, when you're working on one project but have ideas for another project. All of this is being triggered by you internally. You are choosing to stop and switch from one task to the next. The other type of multitasking is external multitasking, and this occurs when someone interrupts you to demand your attention on a different activity than which you are focused on. For example, perhaps you are working on a project or an email or a task and your phone rings and you pick it up and you speak to whomever is on the other end of the phone. But while you're speaking to them, you're trying to finish off typing your email. So you have half your focus on your email, half your focus on what they're saying. You're passively listening to what they're telling you, and you're most likely making errors in the email that you're writing and certainly not focus on all the words and what is being said to you on the phone. Again, both of these examples are not actually multitasking because multitasking is a misnomer. You cannot actually multitask at once that requires even a smidgen of your attention. They are simply examples of you alternating back and forth. There is nothing efficient about these scenarios because it can take nearly 23 minutes for someone to return to an original task after an interruption, according to a research study performed by Gloria Mark, a professor of informatics at the University of California, Irvine, who studies digital distractions. So in a nutshell, it can take up to 23 minutes to get back to the level of concentration that you were once at once you have either been interrupted externally or internally. And the focus that I'm talking about is when you're able to have that deep thinking, that focused energy when you feel like you can get anything done. When you're in that zone and then you're distracted or you choose to multitask, whether internally or you get distracted and there's an external trigger for you to multitask, it is affecting your efficiency. When you have to switch gears back to a previous task after losing focus on it, it takes valuable time to return to that level of concentration that you were once previously at. And as a result, decreasing your productivity. Also, attempting to multitask isn't just a mismanagement of your own time, but it can seem extremely disrespectful to others. Wendy Clark of Coca-Cola said, "The thing people want most from you is your focus and your attention. You destroy that when you think you are multitasking because you're not accomplishing either." And she was obviously very correct. I am urging you not to buy into the lie of multitasking. Multitasking will not get your to-do list done quicker. It will not get more things crossed off. It will not let you focus on more than one thing at one time. What it will do is slow you down, create inaccuracies, errors, make people think that you're not listening to them. Not even make them think, but you really aren't really listening to them. So are you asking them to repeat, or are you missing valuable information that you should have been listening to? I do not want you to ever think that multitasking is the quickest way to being most effective, efficient, or productive. Go ahead and mindlessly tap your toe or chew your gum all you want while working diligently. But if multiple tasks ever require your attention, even just a bit, do yourself a favor. Complete one and then move on to the next. Otherwise, you might wind up standing in line at the airport counter for a trip that you have not booked. And well, as you heard in my story, that could have possibly happened to my father. So I'm going to leave you with some of my tips to stop multitasking. The first is identify when you're multitasking. The truth is that admitting that you're doing it and even identifying that that's what you're doing, because we have some ingrained habits and behaviors to be switching back and forth and rapidly be moving. And so the very first step is to just acknowledge that it's happening and then make the choice to stop. Number 2, establish priorities so that you know which task to focus on first. See, the reason that we multitask is because we are unable to determine, well, what needs our attention most and what should we be focusing on first and what should get done first, but we want them to both get done. So we're going to try and do both at the same time. Do you even hear how crazy that sounds? And so my second tip is for you to establish clear priorities and then work based on those priorities. Number 3, dedicate blocks of focused time to work on projects and priority tasks to ensure that you accomplish them. This is one of my favorite tips. And what I do is I physically take tasks off of my to-do list and I put them onto my calendar and I create a time frame, a start and an end time that I'm going to solely focus on that task or project. And what that does is mentally let me shut everything else off and say, this is what my focus is. This is what my goal is for this amount of time. And that really helps me limit the amount of multitasking. Next, eliminate distractions that encourage you to alternate between tasks. So we talked about internal distractions and external distractions. And so if you have external distractions like your phone ringing or somebody walking by your desk, can you shut your door? Can you put your phone on Do Not Disturb? How can you limit your availability to others so that you have less distractions vying for your attention? And then with regards to the internal distractions, can you purposely limit the number of tabs that you have open on your computer? Can you shut down your email system when you're working on another project that does not require email? Can you block yourself from Facebook? There are multiple ways in which you can try and purposely eliminate those distractions both internally and externally. And then lastly, I highly recommend you read the book, The Myth of Multitasking by Dave Crenshaw. Again, that's The Myth of Multitasking by Dave Crenshaw. And I will have a link to that in this episode. This is episode 25. So you can find that on the show notes at theproductivityspecialist.com/025. The Myth of Multitasking is a tiny little book that I literally read in one little evening, not very much time at all, but it was so impactful and powerful and certainly made me rethink the way that I thought of multitasking. And in a nutshell, that is what I'm asking you to do today. You have perhaps listened to this episode and thought, I'm a great multitasker. What is she talking about? Oh, I get so much done when I multitask. Why would I ever stop? But what I want you to do is really think about what statistics are telling us and that it's the most inefficient way to utilize our time and energy. And it's not just statistics, but if you really pause and you look at it, I think you know the same thing. We're here to be running businesses and be less stressed and less overwhelmed. And you know what? When we feel that way, that's when we revert back to multitasking. As good as I am at trying not to multitask, if I feel myself overwhelmed, I creep back to those old behaviors. And so I go right through my own best practices, and that's just to stop, pause, identify that I'm multitasking. I try to identify the priorities so that I can clearly move forward with confidence on what needs my time and my energy. I dedicate blocks of time so that I'm not guilty about what I'm not spending time on because I know that I'm focusing on what I'm supposed to be focusing on during that time. And then if I don't have enough willpower, I forcefully eliminate internal distractions at all costs and isolate myself from external distractions so that I can focus on my high quality, high value tasks. All right. So what I'm going to leave you with is this. While I have loved having you here listening to Productivity Straight Talk, I need to be straight with you. No change, no change. Without taking action, nothing will change for you or your business. So based on what you learned today about multitasking and finding out that multitasking is one big lie and, quite frankly, a very bad habit to have if you're working on improving your personal productivity. So what are you going to do? What are you going to take action on? Are you willing to implement some of my best practices to ensure that you do not multitask? I hope you do, because the time that you've invested in listening to this episode today is valuable time. But if you don't commit to taking what you've learned and execute that on your daily basis and in your business, then this time was, well, wasted. And I would hate to find out that that's the case. So I invite you to make the commitment to just be more aware of when you're multitasking. And when you find yourself doing so, make a choice to just move forward and single task from this point forward. I would love to invite you to join our private Facebook community. It's called Productivity Straight Talk. And you can do that by going to productivitycommunity.com. Our private Facebook group is a community of like-minded entrepreneurs just like you who are looking to improve their personal productivity to increase their profits. And I love it because there's people in there sharing their favorite tips and their challenges. And you know what? As an entrepreneur, this can feel like a very lonely journey at times. And so I would love you to dive into this community where we are there to support and encourage one another to be the best that we can be, to take that massive focused action in our businesses so that we can have more profits, change more lives, help more people. So with that being said, go ahead and join us by going to productivitycommunity.com. So that's my straight talk for you today. And until next time, have a productive week. Wait. Don't go anywhere. I have something really special for you. How do you plan to end 2017? Do you know exactly what it's going to take your business to the next level, to achieve those goals that you set out for in January of 2017? Well, I have got a special offer for you. I am opening up my one-on-one focus action strategy sessions to 10 people between now and the end of the year. Well, you may be asking yourself, what is a one-on-one focus strategy session? Let me answer that for you. First of all, it will start with an online assessment where you deep dive into your productivity and your business. And this lets me get to know you, your business, where you're going, what your goals are, where you're currently at, and where you want to go. And I take that assessment so that when we meet one-on-one, we're deep diving into your business and we get to laser focus on what your strategies are for your business. Next, we meet one-on-one, and this is all about you, and this is virtual. So this virtual session can happen from anywhere in the world. I will evaluate your assessment. I will give you recommendations on how you can improve your productivity and point you to some resources that I've created for free that will help you in improving your personal productivity. And then we will gain the clarity that you need to actively and massively move forward on those goals. You'll leave knowing what your highest value activities are and how you can do those more frequently. We'll also be laying out 3 months of a strategic plan, so a full quarter. What will your 3 months look like on what you're going to laser focus on to get the results that you're looking for? And then we take that strategic plan over the next 90 days and we back it into a weekly schedule and daily routines that will support you achieving those goals. And all of this is recorded. We're going to meet via Zoom so you get to record it and listen to it or share it with your team so that you can go back and get those nuggets of value that you want to take action on now and in 30 days and in 60 days. I can guarantee that this focused action strategy session is going to be what you need so that you know how to take that massive action in your business to not only close out 2017, but to start 2018 with a bang. So if this interests you, you can go to theproductivityspecialist.com/strategy session. Again, it's theproductivityspecialist.com/strategy session, and you can learn more about this offer. I can't wait to work with you. If you think that this is something that would benefit you, I am opening this up to the next 10 people who are interested in having the strategy session prior to the end of the year.